Good morning, and welcome back to AstriCon. I'd like to introduce to the stage someone everyone already knows, the CEO of Digium, Danny Wyndham.
Good morning. By the way, our clicker is missing from the stage. If anyone stole it, thank you. How's everyone this morning? I'm a little tired today. I was up really late doing market research last night. I was able to put all the results together this morning, and I thought I would share some results with you. So I concluded that if you are really skilled at writing code for Asterisk or things around Asterisk, there is a 62% probability that you can play ping pong well. It's about a 58% probability you can play foosball well. It's about an 89% probability you're pretty good at video games. And there's a 2.5% probability that you can ride a mechanical bull. And for those of you who are injured this morning, Digium has no liability for mechanical bulls. I'd like to thank all of you for being here today. And, are we up? Okay. I really want to thank our sponsors. So I'd like to take a couple of minutes and thank our platinum sponsors, NetX, Polycom, our gold sponsors, GM Voices, our internet sponsors, which has been Western WireMax, as well as Televolve. And Televolve is a group of Asterisk community members who have donated their services and time for free to help us with internet connectivity during this show. Our media sponsors, TMC, No Jitter, and Internet Telephony. And so for all of the sponsors, I'd like to give them a round of applause and thanks. I'd also like to give another shout out to our Innovation Award winners. I'd also like to say that the 2010 Innovation Award competition is now open. Asterisk.org is the place to go. We saw a lot of competition for those awards this year. And so thanks to Abbott Tanal, Greenfield Tech, City of Tahquih. By the way, if you're from Alabama, that's hard to say. Telltales, House Internet, Intuit Innovations, and AirNet. So once again, a round of applause for our innovation winners. Before introducing our keynote speaker this morning, I thought it would be helpful for us to take a look back at the year and see if we've been accomplishing things, what's happened in that year, what's happening in our industry. And so I'd like to start by just looking at the market in general. So what happened to the VoIP market in the year 2009? Now, I don't know if you were actually paying attention, but between the time we were here last year and now, the entire world's economy has melted down. Hopefully, we're beyond that and on the road to recovery. But that meltdown of the economy is something that's ultimately going to be very good for Asterisk. And it's because the downturn in the economy is forcing companies to do more with less. Discretionary spending is gone. Market conditions now favor cost-effective solutions. End users are looking for a return on investment on everything that they do, and it's working to the disadvantage of premium-branded solutions. The economic pressure that is the result of the market meltdown has increased the interest and awareness of open source in general. That can actually be measured. In fact, Forrester Research did so. In a study that was done early in 2009, Forrester concluded that in countries where there are large IT budgets, that the number of companies that said they were either implementing, expanding, piloting, or considering open source is the majority. In the U.S., that number is roughly 65% of all companies. And it's interesting to note that in Western Europe, the adoption rates are even higher. The adoption rates in some countries approaching 80%. So with the overall market conditions being less favorable in 2009, what sort of an impact has that had specifically on VoIP? Well, VoIP is a subset of the overall IT market. Forrester suggests that the IT spending in the U.S., 2009 versus 2008, will be down 5%. But with that as an overall IT market, there are some bright spots within that, of which VoIP is one of them. 70% of CIOs that were polled say they expect to make VoIP investments in 2009, which means that VoIP is the fourth highest area of investment in the IT market. 26% of CIOs said they see VoIP as a way to save money. So if you're looking to fund projects in a down economy, those projects that produce return on investment get money, so you spend money to actually save money. And 21% of VARs surveyed by ChannelWeb suggested that VoIP is the technology that will generate the most growth in revenue for 2009. So I realize it's now late in 2009, but I suspect all of these trends carry over into 2010 as well. While the overall market is not as healthy as it has been in the past, VoIP is a bright spot. There are a number of trends that are influencing our market and helping to create churn, creating demand. So these disruptions include some that have been long-standing. For example, traditional telephony continues its slide to give way to VoIP. Open source continues its march to disrupt proprietary alternatives. But there are a couple of newer trends that are emerging that are significantly influencing what's going on in our market. And one is the adoption rate of unified communications. In fact, unified communications as a term is something that probably could use a definition, and I don't plan to create that, but if you would just work under the assumption that unified communications is a product that works well to integrate technologies such as voice, fax, presence, conferencing, chat, and video, then the UC market today is estimated to be just below $3 billion. And by 2012, it's projected to be an $18 billion market. And I think you'll begin to see the crossing of some terms. What we have in the past called telephones kind of evolved into PBXs. And in the future, I suspect there'll be a lot of confusion. People will be buying what we have in the past called PBX or infrastructures. We'll begin calling that unified communication solutions, and the end users will be demanding this type of integration, these types of features from their communications infrastructure. 41% of VARs surveyed by ChannelWeb predicted that unified communications would be the area of most innovation and creativity over the next 12 to 18 months. Mobile, as a portion of corporate communications, is growing and will be a very significant component of how we communicate for enterprise-class applications in the future. Some of the things that are happening that's enabling this trend include the emergence of better VoIP mobile networks. So today, in fact, we're only a week and a half or so past AT&T's announcement that they're going to allow VoIP over their 3G network. But the emergence and better coverage and higher bandwidth of those mobile networks, such as WiMAX and LTE, as those networks evolve, within 10 years, the prediction is that 50% of all mobile traffic will be VoIP. Another significant thing driving demand for the types of things that we do is the emergence of smartphones. So today, the market for smartphones is roughly 15% of all mobile devices. By 2013, that's predicted to be 38%. By 2013, there are predicted to be 4 billion mobile devices in the world, and that means there will be roughly 1.5 billion smartphones. And as we carry those technologies in our pocket, we want them to be seamlessly connected to our corporate infrastructure. So there will be a lot of demand for fixed mobile convergence and features that allow you to operate from anywhere at any point with the same capabilities that you have sitting in your office. Well, if that's sort of a quick view of what's happened in the VoIP world, what's happened specifically in the Asterisk world in 2009? Well, there have been a number of things that have happened that are project-oriented that have progressed and helped Asterisk gain momentum in the marketplace. For one, these things are measurable. The download stats, the downloads of Asterisk that Digium has visibility into will grow by more than 500,000 downloads this year, up 33% over last year. The Eastern Management Group has estimated that Asterisk-based endpoints are 15% of the overall market in the U.S., which is just an incredible prediction. New developers that have signed up to join the Asterisk project, if you compare the same time period in 2009 versus 2008, is up 60%. And the core development team has begun to implement Agile and Scrum development techniques into the core Asterisk development, which helps to bring new discipline and puts projects under a sprint and review sort of methodology to try to improve the techniques and the methods by which Asterisk is developed. The project itself has seen some significant enhancements. The scalability of Asterisk today is significantly better than it was in the past. John Todd issued the 10,000 channel challenge, and we believe we have a winner. The winner provided us 3 pounds of data, of which we've only been through 1.5 pounds, so we're going to trust him that the other 1.5 pounds won't disprove that at all. But Ule has successfully, kilos, not pounds, has successfully implemented the 10,000 channel challenge, which is one instance of Asterisk running on a single box, 10,000 simultaneous channels, G711 media, which was based on Asterisk 1.4. The scalability improvements in Asterisk 1.6, John tells me he's considering issuing the 50,000 channel challenge in 2010. A lot of improvements in Asterisk to help Asterisk run in virtualized environments, improvements in the drivers, improvements in calendaring, improvements in EEX and the security associated with EEX, a lot of new capabilities introduced into Asterisk in 2009, Skype for Asterisk, Fax for Asterisk, greatly enhanced ISDN functionality for all of our European friends, HD audio support. A lot of innovations regarding the community, and Digium has actually been investing in helping to grow the infrastructure for the community and working to help grow the size of the community by doing things like the makeover of Asterisk.org, which was announced yesterday, with new content on the site to include job listings and documentation and all sorts of other things. The launch of Asterisk Forge, a project development site, collaboration site for Asterisk-related projects. The preview of the Asterisk Exchange, which is the coming marketplace for Asterisk products. The Innovations Awards. The amount of competition for the Innovation Awards this year was very impressive. And the expansion of AstriCon. This is the biggest and, in my opinion, the best AstriCon yet. There are more tracks. The tracks have expanded to include content for not just developers, but for end users of all sizes, small businesses, large businesses, service providers, governments, systems integrators, resellers, etc. And so because of this being the biggest and best AstriCon, I want to give a special thanks to those who have worked so hard to try to put this conference on, including Steve Sokol, John Todd, Julie Webb, and Lisa King, who, bless her heart, landed in Phoenix and drove herself to the hospital and has been there since. So a big round of applause for those people who helped put this on. Since it is Asterisk's 10th anniversary, I thought it would be fun just to take a look at how the world has changed as a result of Asterisk, and some very significant things that the people in this room can be exceptionally proud of include the fact that an entire industry has formed around Asterisk, which has enabled natural disaster victims to be reunited with their families thanks to Asterisk-based systems, U.S. soldiers in war zones to connect with their families using Asterisk-based systems, emergency care to be administered in the field between doctors and paramedics real-time using Asterisk-based systems, voters in countries all over the world to be better informed and make their choices as a result of Asterisk-based systems, and remote villages in Africa can now communicate with the rest of the world because of Asterisk-based systems, which I think are very noble accomplishments on the part of this community. But while some things change, some things never change. Dude still only needs one name. I still can't say Ule to his satisfaction. John Todd is still the king of tie-dye. Allison Smith is still the Asterisk fashionista. Mark Spencer is still wearing that same Kill Bill t-shirt. And Microsoft is still, well, Microsoft. One of the great things about being associated with Digium and Asterisk is we get to work with some of the world's greatest companies. And over the past year, we have been forming a partnership with IBM, who is truly a great supporter of open source, great software innovator of their own, a great supporter of Asterisk. And in April of 2009, Sam Palzamo and Eric Schmidt stood on stage at IBM Partner World and announced the creation of a new integration framework that resulted in the launch of the IBM Smart Cube and the IBM Smart Market in May of 2009. It is both a platform and a marketplace, a platform upon which you can run applications and a marketplace through which you can source applications to be able to run your small and medium-sized business. And today, we are officially announcing the launch of Asterisk for IBM Smart Business. With us today to tell us more about IBM Smart Business is Mike Smith. Mike is a distinguished engineer whose current job is CTO for the integrated IBM Smart Business Platform. And in this role, Mike is responsible for the overall technical strategy of Smart Business and leading the software development teams for Smart Business. Mike is leading the partnerships and new software business opportunities, including completed partnerships with Zen, Databoro, IBI, and MySQL. In previous responsibilities, Mike was the lead for the i5OS, the SMB Chief Software Architect, and responsible for software strategy and plan for i5OS. Prior to that, he led ERP developments within IBM for the AS400. He was responsible for the Bond ERP port, as well as the SAP R3 port. He was the lead software architect, and has been the lead software architect for i5OS since 2002. He's a 1986 computer science graduate from Michigan Technological University and holds a MBA, 2004, from the esteemed Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. Help me give a big asterisk welcome to Mike Smith.
Morning, thanks. I got in late enough. I was not subjected to the bowl, which is probably good for all of us. So let me tell you a little bit about what is being announced today with Asterisk on IBM Smart Business. Like Danny said, what we were trying to accomplish was to really relook at how we're delivering IT services to small and medium companies. So we wanted to completely take away IT, make it invisible, make it simple, and as part of that, we revisited the entire experience along how customers find IT, how they obtain IT, how they manage IT, and how they expand and grow their capabilities. And we'll get into a little bit as to how that is done as part of the platform and the marketplace, and that's what's being announced today with Digium, is the exploitation of that platform and that marketplace to bring that to market. So what is it? At the highest level, what we're doing is we're first bringing to market an application-led message. So when you hear us talk about the Smart Business Platform, you're not going to hear us talk about a bunch of technology like IBM usually does. You're going to hear us talk about applications and what those applications might do for your business. And as part of that, we've built in an integrated platform that I'll show you on the next page that has the things that you have to worry about in IT as a business built into the box so that you don't have to worry about it. And it's always connected back to a web-delivered component so that you don't have to worry about the maintenance and the long-term patches and updates and things like that. The system will take care of itself based on what applications you have installed. One of the most key value propositions that we've brought as part of this offering is a single point of contact. As we did our market research back 3 years ago, one of the complaints that we heard a lot from the small and medium businesses is when something breaks, they don't know what broke and who even to call. So one of the key things that you'll see in this platform is the ability for the system to put in its own autonomics, its own wizards for gathering problem determination information, problem reporting information, and that enables IBM to be the one place to call for hardware, software, services, and the third-party applications that are built onto the platform, including Digium. And I'll show you what that means later and how you could take advantage of that. Just one quick proof point as to what we think we've accomplished in terms of simplification. One of the things that we do as part of the platform is it's delivered from the factory with all the middleware and security and that kind of stuff pre-installed, ready to go and turn on. And as soon as you turn it on, it finishes configuring itself based on what applications are supposed to be running on that server. If we look at just the raw volume of things that you would have had to do this by yourself, it's 17 modules that represent 1,600 pages, and we've got it down to a quick start poster. The other thing that the platform is built for is growth. And what I mean by that is it's all application-led, but as a small and medium business figures out what additional capabilities they need, the Smart Market then is the place where you could go and find those additional applications, automatically obtain them, get them down to the system, and manage them from there. So one level of detail on what the Smart Business is. It's 3 integrated components, and I'll show you a little bit on each one of them. The Smart Market is our online presence. You could get to it by going to ibm.com/b is a shortcut for it. And your entry point into that is just what applications are available and instrumented to this platform that I'll show you that deliver this seamless IT experience. There's a specific methodology that's needed in order to what we call instrument the applications to fit into this kind of management style. The second component of Smart Business is the Smart Cube itself. This is a traditional integrated server delivered from the factory, like I said, with all the middleware, the gateway back to the smart market, the security components, the backup components, really truly set up to be turnkey and ready to go. It connects back to the smart market for some things I'll show you in a couple of pages that have to do with how the health of the system is doing, how the capacity planning of the system is going. If you're downloading more applications, does the system have enough space for it, or do we need to recommend an upgrade, a second server, things like that. The third aspect of the Smart Business is what we call the Smart Desk, and this is just your client into the overall platform. It contains both a knowledge worker interface and an administrator interface, where it puts together everything from the Smart Market and the Smart Cube into one dashboard or one user programs catalog, where I can find everything that is available to me as an individual user or administrator of a Smart Business installation. Just one more level of detail on each one of those in terms of what's in them. In the Smart Market, this is like I said, it's our marketplace for the listing of solutions and services. It's a self-nomination kind of marketplace, so as a provider, and I'll show you how to do this later, as a provider of software services, you can go to the Smart Market, nominate an application, get it instrumented to the platform, and make it available for sale through the IBM Smart Market with those benefits that I told you on the first page in terms of simplicity, single throat to choke for support, and so on. There is a community aspect to this website. The community aspect, as I'll show you, is very deeply embedded into our problem determination and problem resolution kind of aspects. So as the community collaborates around the traditional social networking kinds of things, that's integrated into how problems are reported and resolved such that customers can help themselves without having necessarily to get IBM or a third-party ISV into place. There is the capability as part of the instrumentation that I'll tell you about to have both on-site and off-site applications dealt in an identical fashion, meaning from a Smart Desk standpoint, if I look at an individual application, it may be running on one or many of my on-premise Smart Cubes, or it may be delivered as a software as a service kind of model as well. And the management aspects, again, which I'll show you in a couple of pages, are identical for what you're doing as a software as a service application or a locally installed application. The Smart Market also provides for what we call managed inventory and the remote operations that's associated with that. And what the managed inventory, this is really key to the insights that we have for the ISVs and the resellers about the knowledge of the platform. But for every Smart Cube that's out there, we know where it is, we know what's installed on it, we know what the service terms that are associated with it, we know who the VAR is, we know who the ISVs are, and we make that available to the VARs and the ISVs, as you can see at the bottom, into custom views so that the ISVs and VARs can have better service for their end customers. So for example, as a VAR, I can know who all my customers are, what the status and health of their machines are, what kind of applications are installed, and what kind of applications I should be recommending that they don't have installed yet. This is just a picture of the entry point for the Smart Market. So you can see typical landing site with the marketplace, the community, some information about Smart Business itself, and then the entry point for the post-sale support. And as Danny said, we've got Asterisk for the Smart Cube that's announced today as one of the key offerings that you'll find out into that marketplace. This is a drill down one level from that main page, and from here you can see at the very bottom of the page the various things that I can get about additional information about the application, and then work with IBM to obtain a hardware, software, services, and the application all in one transaction with IBM. The second thing that was part of the Smart Business platform was the Smart Cube, and this is what all is made up in the Smart Cube. So like I said, it was hardware, software, services, all bundled into one price. At the bottom, there's a server, of course. We do support actually 2 operating systems and two hardware models, both in the x86 and the Power space. The OS is SLES or IBM I. The next layer up is where things start to get really interesting. The next layer up, what it represents is one of the burdens that we wanted to take from the customer and from the ISV is what is the combination of things that I need to have installed in order to make an application work? What version of DB2 or Apache and so on? So what we've done is we've taken a set of the application containers that you see here and pre-tested, pre-optimized, pre-integrated them together, and that's all delivered from the factory. So as a ISV, and you can see an example of some of the partners at the top, you don't have to worry about what kind of middleware might be there. It's a very predictable, managed approach to what those application containers are. Security is built in. We've got the world-class Preventia network security, firewall detection, intrusion prevention detection built into the cube. And as an optional add-on, there's also an edge of the network appliance that's available as well. The backup and recovery is also built in, pre-integrated, pre-set up, such that if you turn it on, you got disk-to-disk backups done already without any intervention. And there's also an option for a remote data protection service for an online backup. Now, the thing that makes this different is instead of just bundling all these things together and dropping them into a server, we've put together, the integration framework. And the integration framework, which I'll introduce to you in a couple of charts, is the key that says all that complexity of that technology is hidden from the user, and it's a very simple dashboard as to how to manage my backup, how to start and stop my applications, and so on. And this is what the ISVs then exploit in order to deliver that very easy experience for their application in exactly the same manner as what the base platform by itself does. And once it's instrumented to that framework, as I mentioned before, that's what enables that one point of contact for IBM to be for support. Just a quick look at the desktop, the third element of what's in the Smart Business Platform. We do only support one client today. Unfortunately, it is a Microsoft client. Danny, I'll get to the other one shortly, being a Mac guy myself. So you do have to have a Windows client at this point, and it's got some built-in capabilities in terms of Smart Cube specific management things. The main one being the dashboard, where I get the status of my applications, the status of my cube, any messages that the system wants to send me, how to manage any system reported or user reported kinds of problems. There is a user programs catalog. What the user programs catalog does is that for every application that's installed on the system, how do my end knowledge workers get at the clients that are needed for that application, whether it's a web client or a rich client? They're all found in one place. And they're integrated into the knowledge workers desktop via the application launch folder. Other capabilities that are kind of pre-built applications, if you will, into the desktop include the collaboration clients for instant messaging and email, web conferencing, voice over IP, and so on. The start of a unified communications presence onto the desktop. Oh, you told me there's only 2 buttons. I managed to find the wrong one. The last part of what I wanted to spend a little bit of time with you on is, now that you've got a quick view as to what the platform value proposition is and what it does, what has Digium done different with Asterisk to enable themselves for fitting into this kind of value proposition and delivery model? It starts with something that's called the integration framework, like Danny had mentioned, was announced, you had the year wrong, it was announced April 2008 at the Business Partner Leadership Conference. What the framework is going to do is enable an experience that as an ISV, hopefully Danny can attest to all of these things, is to how to expand an ISV's or a reseller's business without incurring a lot of additional cost. And the way that we manage those costs is helping first and foremost with support, but also taking out some of the variables that go with a typical IT deployment. So you've got an easier sales cycle, you've got an easier support model, you've got the reach of the IBM.com website to get to those customers. So all those things lead to an expansion of a reseller's or an ISV's business without incurring a lot of additional cost, which was our goal first and foremost in terms of expanding our application portfolio. This is done via the application framework. What the application framework is we looked across the entire life cycle of the application, all the way from how do I just know what kind of applications do I need to obtaining them, fulfilling them, entitling them, managing them, getting the clients down to the workstations and so on. So every one of these little bubbles that you see on this chart represents what we call an integration point. The integration point then is, if you will, an open API, and I'll show you how to navigate through those APIs in a couple of charts. An open API where, for example, Digium said, this is how I start and stop my Asterisk server, for example. So that is populated onto the dashboard. The integration point and integration framework behind the work that Asterisk and or Digium and IBM have done together then implement that in a very seamless manner. Altogether, there's 17, 18 integration points for simplicity and consistency of that model. One other key thing that you see on this chart is the X kind of way over on the right-hand side. And what that represents is the abstraction of what is installed on-premise versus into a cloud. So as I look to what's on the client workstation on the dashboard, everything is represented on those exactly the same, and the abstraction layer that's behind or that's inside of the integration framework then helps make the determination as to whether this is an on-premise installation or a hosted service where I need to remote that function up to a cloud provider, for example. So this is the work that, in order, as an ISV, to take advantage of the platform or reseller, this is the work that you do in order to make your application fit into the kind of this end-to-end experience. I'm not going to go through all of this as much as I'd like to. This is good stuff. But these are the first list of integration points. So like I said, it goes all the way from identification to configuration to management to problem reporting, problem determination, fix acquisition. One thing that you'll see us do into 2010 is what we first targeted in our first offerings of Smart Business was around capturing existing applications and bringing those to a market that has limited IT knowledge. Now what we want to do is, as those customers get comfortable with the platform, they're going to look to IBM, the Smart Market, and our partners to deliver additional applications and capabilities onto that platform. And what we want that to be able to do then is that those applications, not only at a management level, but at an application level, work together as well. So you'll see us do extensions to the integration points and the integration framework that take us to working at a business level from an application to application integration standpoint, probably around standards such as the OAGIS BODS. I lost a part of a picture here, but if there was a picture there, this is an example of the integration points. So one of the key integration points was in the upper left-hand corner. I showed an example of what's the before picture of when I have a picture. So Microsoft is still well Microsoft. So this is what they told me about having my half-life blow up. On Smart Business, if you could see it, what we do is on the dashboard, you'll actually see an entry for half-life as an application. You'll see a status there that says something has gone wrong. And the way that we figure that out is via the problem monitoring integration point, which says, what do I look for in my log files to determine whether a problem has occurred or not, and what the nature of that problem is, and how to describe that problem in English instead of an instruction number that has failed. That manifests itself in a symptom, which is populated onto the dashboard. So, for example, the symptom may say, cannot place a voice over IP call. For each symptom, then, there's a set of recovery actions that is also an integration point that says, for each one of those possible symptoms, what are the possible recovery actions, and what is the expected result of that recovery action, such that we can determine in an autonomic fashion whether or not the particular recovery may have worked or not. And if none of those work, what do we need to gather up for support to send back to IBM? And then, of course, when the problem is reported, it's electronically sent back to IBM with that problem reporting information. And as part of the collaboration that Digium and IBM have done, and every other partner in the Smart Market, we know how to look at the problems, triage the problems into what really went wrong, and if so, if needed, do a warm handoff of the problem call to Digium without having to confuse the customer and bounce the customer around in terms of what may have gone wrong or where the problem may need to lie and where to go to next. So the last thing I wanted to tell you about was the ISV toolkit. And what the ISV toolkit is your window into the integration framework. So as I mentioned, the integration framework is a pile of APIs and so on, XML documents that describe the behavior of applications, and both in a normal situation and in a failed situation. But that would be very cumbersome for an ISV to enable as part of getting ready for the smart cubes. So there's a toolkit that goes with the integration framework that enables the packaging of an application or an add-on for inclusion into the smart market. And this is the work that Digium has done. Now, the cool thing about the ISV toolkit is it doesn't disrupt your existing build processes or make processes and so on. It's a set of metadata around an installed application, if you will. So as a provider, what you do is install your application however you normally install it. This is inside the lab. And then you point the toolkit at it. The toolkit goes out and introspects the application to figure out where all the components are, and then walks you through a series of wizards to help provide the scripts and metadata that we need in order to, if you will, kind of be the glue between the smart desk and the ISV application. So there's actually two parts to the toolkit. The first part is on the web, and the second part is on your local installed server. On the web side of it, and you saw the results of what Digium has done already on this, you create what's called a listing. And what the listing does is tell us and our customers, our joint customers, what the application is, what it does, how much it costs, what it runs on, what its prerequisites are, those kind of informations as kind of a combination of the marketing and sales aspects of the application, plus the Granger book of the tech specs as to how to make the application run, so that the customer isn't bothered with trying to figure all that out. It's just done once by the application provider. And then the second part of the toolkit is, like I said, your on-server installed aspects that have to do with introspecting the application. Then we walk you through a pile of wizards in terms of where's the script to start your application, how do I add a user to your application. Eventually we'll have things about how to invoke business level functions inside of your applications so that we can integrate those, like, for example, your customer list across two different applications. So as an administrator or user, I don't need to do that in two places. So it's a very friendly wizard that walks you through each one of those integration points and builds up the metadata for you. And here you can see the first go around as to what those kind of components are that we work with you on. So how do you get started on it if this is interesting to you as an ISV or a Asterisk add-on provider, a reseller? There is content out on the Partner World website that says, what is our enablement roadmap? What kind of things do you need to go through in order to get yourself into this program? And then there's a very specific nomination process that it's about 3 pages that we ask you some of the specifics of the application so that we can help you estimate the kind of work that would be necessary in order to make your application available, so that you don't end up signing up for something that isn't a good fit. And we've got an enablement team that will help out with getting you through this process. But the whole thing starts with this nomination. If you have an add-on or other applications that would make sense. As a ISV or VAR or reseller or an add-on provider, these are the things that you end up having to do in terms of expanding your reach into underserved customers. So it starts with the nomination. Get your applications integrated through that toolkit that I mentioned. Once the nomination is in place and approved, you list your applications into the marketplace, like you saw from the Digium one. And then we will work with you in terms of finding IBM hardware resellers that can help you do the SmartCube sale as well. So it becomes a very compatible channel enablement process in terms of making sure that we've got one place for our customers to go to obtain solutions, instead of still having to bounce through hardware, software, and services kind of channel resellers. There is joint marketing programs available that go as part of the marketplace. So like I said, everything about this marketplace is application-led. So when we're doing our demand generation around the offerings here, we're doing it talking about what Digium and Asterisk do. We don't talk about what a smart cube does. We just tell them why a smart cube is a better place to run it, but the lead with part is going to be around the application. And then, of course, as part of the social networking aspects of the site, there's going to be some content and information that you'll want to provide to your online community that is following your application on Smart Business. So, Danny, I almost made it in time. I'm around for a bit. I've got a colleague here, Dan Strauss, who knows more about this than I do, I'm sure, because he's slogging it out every day. But I'll be happy to take any email questions or anything else that you might have. Thanks. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you very much. There we go. Thank you very much, Mike. We appreciate the talk. And again, we're right up against the beginning of our sessions. So if, without any further ado, you'd all get up and get out and enjoy AstriCon. Thank you very much.